Welcome to the KAJ Masterclass. Today on Business and Money, we are joined by Peter Bergeron. His mission is to improve the survival rates of small businesses, improve the quality of life for the owners running them, and improve continuity so that the equity stays in the communities that built it. And so we'll be discussing with him about how one can build a business that can run without them and much more. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm excited.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Peter. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of businesses across the globe, a lot of owners across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about, as we said, building a business that can run without them. And but before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Yes, so I have a lifetime inside small businesses. Started when I was 4 years old, and my father launched his business. So grew up with it as another sibling in the household. Like most businesses that are starting, it's one of those things that it uh, competed for attention in the household and everything like that. Spent weekends, the founder practice, the founder's sacrifice, saw all of it. And that led me to just really enjoying small business as a whole. It was part of what I thought life was supposed to be. And I went in that route in my professional career. I had never expected to go into working with my father or for my father, but I did end up doing that in the early 2000s, spent nearly 20 years working for him. Along the way, we tried a generational transfer that had failed, unfortunately. We decided in end of 2018 for a sale. It led, unfortunately, him passing before that happened in May of 2019, which just expedited us down. Um, Ended up having to close the doors in 2020, fire sailed it right as COVID was starting, and eventually got back to school because I had in the back of my head a burning question of what went wrong. And that's what led me into studying succession and studying small business transfer, and to where I am today, with which is trying to improve the failure rates that we know are out there.
Absolutely, absolutely, Peter. So I want to understand for the audience, how should they understand what is it that you are trying to tell them? Should they build a business first, or should they build a business both in terms of either quickly they can exit, or build a business that they can, that can survive without them?
Yeah, so it's really that intention, and it's really what happens within small businesses is we get started and we don't really have a what an exit looks like. We don't have that in mind. We're getting launched, we're getting growth, we're getting into the business of growing. So as founders, we're involved in many things. And it just becomes the norm of the business as we grow. Whereas when you enter the work world in large corporate, right away, you're talking about what is your career plan? What is your trajectory? Where do you see yourself 5, 10, 15 years? Where do you see yourself exiting? Those talks, those conversations don't happen within small businesses. And so slowly the whole business grows around the founder, grows around the owner until that person is centralized and stuck inside of it or trapped inside of it. They build systems that they don't even know they're building because they didn't launch as business owners. They launched as professionals who wanted to deliver a service, deliver a product. The business grew around them. And when the business grew around them, it actually grew out of them and it became with them at central locations. So what we're just looking at is trying to get to a point where we stop being unintentional in what we're doing, how we're structuring things, how we're making decisions, and making sure we're developing a business that when it's time for us to move on, when it's time for us to step back, when we want to make those changes, the business is structured in a way that it can. And too often it's not because of the cross hats that a owner will wear or things along those lines.
Absolutely. So, isn't it that as the business grows, you get in more and more people within your system, and that it actually starts running? There are so many tools now. Automation was there, now AI is there. You can bring in more and more tools into the whole system, and it can run without you. A lot of businesses do run without the people who have founded them. Founders sometimes can, have a very good life. What is it that some founders are able to do it, others are not, as you call them, the trapped operator?
Yeah, and again, it's that founder who goes in with intention. We know of, and we all follow those entrepreneurs who will talk about having launched multiple businesses and exited from multiple businesses. And really, when you look back at what they're doing, even with the systems they're utilizing to allow them, as I call those systems, to be force multipliers to allow them to do more, it's still the intentional plan of having an exit, having a timeline of what they're looking to do, having a specific size. There are some entrepreneurs that get very good at growing from a size of a 25-person business to a 250, and then say, okay, now it's time for me to exit. Again, they were doing it intentionally. No one goes in with that concept of the intention of getting themselves trapped. They just learn bad habits. They learn survival, and it becomes that instinct. And even some of those tools, as we talk about the AIs and such, can actually, for some people, make them more trapped. It makes them more self-reliant and feel I have to touch everything. Whereas the entrepreneur who says, ooh, this will allow me to specialize in the product development that I really wanted to do when I launched my company, and I can have it doing my thinking at night, and I can have it helping me prepare my business to move further forward. They're using the tools with intention. And again, that intention of a business that, yes, I operate in by choice rather than I operate in because the business requires me to.
Right, Peter, right. Let's understand it this way for my audience. How do I know as a business person, business owner, whether I am trapped or I am still independent?
Perfect. And it really goes by what is that day to day. And again, it's that intention of being an operator. So there are certain business owners who, what are they fantastic at? They're fantastic at business development. That is what they want to do. They want to bring together teams to develop projects and grow that way, and we'll hold this part of the project, you do this part, and we'll collaborate and we'll grow together. And there's owners who, that is what they want to be doing. They want to be developing those deals. That is perfectly fine to do. But when that business development expert is also now handling every HR issue, when you normally would not have that person do that, if you were paying them as an employee, or if you were an employee wearing that hat in another organization, you wouldn't be taking that on. And in the beginning, in that startup, in that survival mode, in those launching modes, again, you have to wear all those hats. It's, do you properly, as your organization grows, as you add individuals, as you add contractors that you use, whatever it is, as your structure grows, as your systems grow, are things being looped back to the owner by appropriateness for the role and responsibilities they have in that company? Or is it being looped back to them out of convenience, out of habit, out of, again, within smaller firms, out of that history that Everybody has always gone to the owner for that. So while that was okay when we were a company of 15 people, is it really appropriate when we're in a company of 45 to be continuing those processes? So it's what is happening to the owner. Are they able to step into away from those day-to-day things, and others are able to properly pick it up? Or does it always loop back to them?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you have written a book on this particular thing, the trap operators. I know it is for small businesses, but in that book, have you also, you deal with more of small businesses. I want to understand if you have mentioned about that a lot of these businesses, they pride, and the owners also, they pride themselves by being very close to the customer and being authentic, knowing customers, so many of them by name. They have grown with them, built with them, and they don't want to distance themselves from that nature of business because that's what they think is going to be, that makes them happy, that customers come for that. How do you calibrate that part with the independence that you are talking about?
And it's exactly that. And that's why I do make that distinction. I do talk about it. Those choices to be with the customer, that small business drive, that personal connection that they enjoy, those are things we can continue to have. Again, that's being connected to the business by choice. That is part of the strategy of it. That's part of being an owner. You want to have that community connection. So you can have that as part of that ownership structure. You can have that again as part of those roles and responsibilities. We just have to think about it as we get to the point of later in life. Are we going to be able to find someone if we want to sell this company, if that's our plan? And that's why I say we have to just get intentional of what is our long-term plan. But if our long-term plan is to exit by finding a buyer for the company, is it something someone can step into? Or are you creating just a job that you like that you're going to have to try to sell to somebody else down the road? And maybe you have to just take the understanding, no, when these doors close, I'm closing those relationships. There isn't going to be another owner. Okay, just properly plan the exit so that you have an asset that does what you expect it to do in that retirement years. And it's just, again, those alignments of what is my intention versus what is the company deciding I should do. Because again, small business owners, yes, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, I enjoy talking to them. I enjoy that community. I enjoy that connection. I enjoy that a lot of what drives the small business owner is more the socio-economic wealth as opposed to always the cash itself. It is that feeling of being connected to the community, knowing your neighbors, knowing your customers, and feeling good at the end of the day that I provided a goods and service that everybody felt good about. Those are all allowable things. And that's actually being a successful owner. You're doing the stuff you want to do, not the stuff your company is forcing you to do.
Absolutely. You talk about 12 fatal issues framework. What is this framework all about? What can my audience, who is also consisting of lot of small business owners, startups, they can learn from this?
Yeah. So the 12 fatal issues are the reoccurring pressure points that come up in the business of running a small business. So we're not talking about those fatal issues of having a horrible product design or, we aren't good at providing a service. We don't provide a service. No, this is those disruptions, those pressure points that happen from that business of running a small business, the SG&A, the general and administrative side of small businesses. And so they are grouped in a 4x3 type matrix, which shows how they are connected and how they can weaken each other. And it's all about how we contain those pressures. because each of us is going to set up our business slightly different by our own personalities, our own habits, the things we feel good about, comfortable about. If we've had, money issues in the past, we're going to have higher capitalization because we're going to be concerned about that. So we look at those things differently. But the pressures come down into three issue groups: foundational, which is in most often the survival side. Those are your finance related and your compliance related. Developmental issues are what's related to what it sounds like: customer growth, revenue, market presence, and marketing. And then our transitional issues are what is our strategy, our hiring, our ability to adapt, our management styles. So those groups have their own pressures and they get agitated or excited more so in different states of the company. Again, small businesses run from emotional states. We're in a state of survival. We're either there or a state of scale, or we have those moments of stability and calm. But then there are four systems that run through all companies, again, that aren't always named, but they're there: our resource system, our processes system, our visibility system, and our enterprise system. And that aligns how the issues work with each other across those systems. So, for example, in our resource system, our foundational issue there is capitalization. Our developmental issue is our customer diversification, and then our transitional is our strategy, because that is the most basic thing you need to have to provide a customer. You need to have those resources to be able to provide a product. You need to have cash of some sort. You need to have a customer that you're delivering something to, and a strategy for a product or service. And that's the most general. And then they work together, and how they are contained and how they agitate through decides whether or not your business is going to be able to contain those pressures or not. And they're structured together in that way. And that's the system we look at. We take some diagnostics of see where we have pressure points, where do we have weaknesses, where are possibilities for failure occurring.
Absolutely, Peter. Absolutely. So, someone, whatever way they started, whether with, with not with the plan of exiting, not with any particular plan, wanted to just build a business. Life got busy, and now they want to evaluate because they want also time for themselves and their family. What is the best way for anyone to get started in evaluating their journey so that they can decide how best they can become much more free from their day-to-day operations?
Yeah, so we developed a diagnostic that allows them to quickly step inside the framework and get a feel of where they are. So we have a quick 6-question diagnostic. It's on a Likert scale, so it's getting a qualitative sense of what are they feeling about their business, because that's what matters first. What did they build? What do they feel they built? We do that quick diagnostic. Within 5 minutes, they have one of 8 business profiles. And those business profiles also have an owner profile, just so they get to kind of recognize themselves. We give them a quick review. This is how you normally get there. This is what would be happening, and this is what will continue to happen if you stay in this process, in this profile. Our worst, or our most at-risk profile, we call it, is the trapped operator itself. And what we're working towards is showing them what issue groups are most active, what do they have contained or not have contained, and we start talking about the path forward to how we switch that. Things such as what we normally find in small businesses, we have a management issue. We have an ineffective management because the owner has always held something close. So one of the first things we go to is looking at what is your daily answers, what is being routed to you, and what is just one thing you can start routing somewhere else that really should not land at your desk. And that's just that very first step, just to feel that moment of, oh, I have a few more moments because I don't have to be the one worrying about X. I have a system in place, I have a team in place, I have a way for this to happen. I can still even have a high watermark if it doesn't go right, so I can have a checks and balance. And we just start developing those systems that free the operator into that owner and truly doing the things they wanted to do when they launched their business as that owner.
Wonderful. There's so much to learn about all this from you, Peter, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you. A lot of businesses would want to connect with you and learn more from you. What's the best way for them to do so?
Really, it's going to be looking and going through the trappedoperator.com. That's where you get the landing page to the book. We have right on there as well on that landing page. We give them the opportunity to do the fatal snapshot, as we call it. That's that 6-question diagnostic to get them inside and feeling, does the framework feel like it to them? Does this feel right? Because really, we're just trying to help them kind of be able to say, this is where I stand, and these are the actual issues I need fixed.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you again for having me. It was a pleasure.